Hello, I'm Sebastian. Welcome to 9R Trees podcast. Today, I will summarize and review the book. Everyday Memory by Cam Knight is a practical guide for anyone who wants to stop forgetting the little things that add stress to daily life. Positioned within the broader mental performance and self-improvement space, the book focuses on simple memory principles and field-tested techniques that can be applied immediately to common situations, such as remembering names, dates, facts, lists, directions, and instructions. Rather than treating memory as a fixed talent, it frames recall as a skill built through attention, organization, and creative association. The tone is geared toward usability, with methods designed for work, school, and social settings, including strategies for lectures, conversations, and personal experiences. Readers can expect an emphasis on making information more meaningful and easier to retrieve by using mental images, structured systems, and repeatable habits. The overall promise is not a photographic memory fantasy, but a toolkit that helps average people become reliably better at remembering what matters. I will give you key takeaways from this book. Firstly, how memory works in daily life and why we forget. A core theme of the book is that many memory failures are not true memory problems, but attention problems. If a name, instruction, or appointment is never fully registered, it cannot be recalled later. The book frames memory as a process with stages such as noticing, encoding, storage, and retrieval, and it highlights how stress, multitasking, and information overload interrupt those stages. This perspective is empowering because it moves the solution away from raw brain power and toward controllable behaviors. By learning to slow down briefly, focus on key details, and reduce mental clutter, readers can improve recall without needing extraordinary talent. The book also encourages readers to identify their typical failure points, such as forgetting names right after introductions, losing track of errands, or blanking during tests. From there, the techniques are positioned as ways to strengthen encoding and retrieval using deliberate practice. This foundation matters because it prevents readers from chasing gimmicks and instead helps them build reliable habits that translate to work tasks, social interactions, and learning. The takeaway is that forgetting is often predictable, and once it is predictable, it becomes preventable with the right strategy. Secondly, remembering names and faces with strong first impressions. Remembering names is one of the most socially valuable memory skills, and the book treats it as a combination of attention, repetition, and association. It emphasizes being fully present during introductions because names are often missed when people are thinking about what to say next. The approach typically involves hearing the name clearly, repeating it soon, and linking it to a distinctive feature or a memorable mental image. This turns a random sound into something the brain can grasp. The book also promotes active engagement, such as using the name in conversation and confirming pronunciation, which reinforces the memory trace while also improving rapport. Another practical angle is recognizing the common trap of relying on passive familiarity. Many people assume they will remember a name after a few minutes of talking, but the book pushes readers to encode it intentionally at the start. Over time, these steps can reduce social anxiety and improve networking outcomes, because remembering names signals respect and attentiveness. The broader lesson is that names are not inherently hard to remember, they are just rarely encoded with care. By creating a small routine at each introduction, readers can turn a frequent weak spot into a dependable strength. Thirdly, numbers, dates, and facts. Through association and structure, everyday life is full of numbers and factual details, from birthdays and anniversaries to PIN codes, addresses, and key dates. The book presents memory as easier when information is transformed into something meaningful. Instead of treating numbers as abstract, it promotes techniques that convert them into images, stories, or patterns. This could involve grouping digits, linking dates to personal events, or attaching a fact to a vivid mental scene that is easy to replay. The focus is not on one narrow system, but on the underlying principle of structured encoding. Readers are guided to create mental hooks, such as relating unfamiliar facts to familiar knowledge, using simple mnemonics, and organizing information into categories. This helps with both retention and retrieval, since the brain can follow a path back to the target detail. The book also addresses practical constraints, encouraging methods that can be applied quickly rather than requiring long setup. The result is a set of strategies that are useful for students preparing for exams, professionals who need to recall data, and anyone who wants to keep important dates and details accessible without constant checking. The message is that facts stick when you give them context, and numbers become memorable when you give them form. Fourthly, memory for learning, lectures, reading, and study situations. For learning contexts, the book emphasizes that passive exposure is not the same as learning. Listening to a lecture or reading a chapter can feel productive, yet recall often collapses when the brain has not actively processed the material. The book encourages techniques that improve both understanding and memory, such as summarizing key points in your own words, identifying main ideas, and creating simple frameworks that connect concepts. Instead of trying to memorize everything, it promotes selecting what matters, organizing it logically, and using associations to anchor it. The approach supports practical study behaviors like spaced review, self-testing, and revisiting information in multiple forms, which strengthens retrieval pathways over time. Another important idea is using visualization and mental rehearsal to turn abstract content into something concrete. When learners can picture a process, sequence, or relationship, they can recall it more easily under pressure. These methods are positioned as useful for students, trainees, and lifelong learners who want better results with less frustration. The overall promise is not just better grades, but greater confidence in meetings, presentations, and any situation where you need to recall information on demand. Memory improves when learning becomes active, structured, and repeatable. Lastly, directions, instructions, lists, and everyday tasks without stress, a major practical payoff of memory training is reducing daily friction. The book targets common pain points such as forgetting errands, losing steps in a set of instructions, and getting turned around when navigating. It promotes using mental organization, vivid imagery, and sequential linking to keep track of tasks and routes. For lists, the book supports techniques that connect items into an easy-to-replay chain, turning a set of separate pieces into one coherent story. For instructions, it encourages breaking information into chunks and attaching each chunk to a mental cue so that you can recall the next step at the right moment. With directions, it highlights using landmarks, distinctive features, and a clear sequence rather than relying solely on vague left and right turns. This turns navigation into a memorable narrative. Importantly, the book frames these tools as usable in real time, not just during planned study sessions. That is what makes the methods relevant for work procedures, cooking, travel, and household management. The broader benefit is emotional. Fewer forgotten details means less self-criticism and less dependence on constant reminders. When everyday recall becomes more reliable, people experience a smoother routine and more mental space for higher-value goals. In conclusion, this book is a good fit for readers who often forget names, misplace details from conversations, struggle to keep dates and instructions straight, or feel overwhelmed by mental clutter. Students can use the learning-focused strategies to retain lectures and reading more effectively. Professionals who handle meetings, procedures, and client relationships will benefit from stronger recall of names, facts, and action items. Anyone who wants a practical mental performance upgrade without heavy theory will find the book approachable, because it centers on habits and techniques that can be practiced immediately. The benefit to daily life is straightforward. Better memory reduces stress, saves time, and improves confidence. When you remember what you intend to remember, you show up more reliably for people and commitments, and you rely less on last-minute scrambling. The methods also encourage sharper attention and clearer organization, which improves decision-making beyond memory alone. Compared to similar memory books that focus on competitive feats or complex systems, this one is positioned around everyday usefulness. Its value lies in translating common mnemonic principles into situations most people face daily. If you want a toolkit you can apply at work, at school, and in social settings, this book is worth buying for its practical focus and repeatable techniques. If you would like to support Cam Knight, you can buy the book through the Amazon link I've provided in the podcast description. After reading the book, please let me know what you think and share your thoughts. See you around.